Welcome back to Money Control's live stream. You're watching Closing Bell with me, Lovisha, Darad, and of course my colleague Nandita Khemka. Well, Nandita, yes, quite a quiet session today, but both the benchmarks, they snapped their 5 straight day of gains. It doesn't really come as a big surprise because we did have a fairly weak global handover as well. Sensex slipped flat, but above that 81,700 mark. While Nifty was below that 24,700 mark as well. The big washed out event definitely was the RBI's policy outcome. Both their decisions, no repo rate cut as well as the CRR cut, were widely in line with the street estimates. Rate sensitive stocks, they did react positively after the RBI announced a 50 basis point CRR cut, but all of them failed to hold all of those gains as well. If you look at some of the Nifty sectoral indices, Nifty Bank flat in the red, auto indices up about 1%. However, the Realty index, that is also flat in the red as well. Among others, metal and consumer durables, that fairly well did well on the Lal Street. Both indices up about 1% each. But yes, for the week, the markets did extend gains for the third straight week. Nandita, a solid momentum on a weekly basis. Do you expect this outperformance to continue going ahead as well?
Hi Lovisha. Well, you're right. I mean, it was a fairly quiet session and not surprising, right? Because we've seen 5 straight day of gains, right, on the market, and much of the heavy lifting or the hard work has already been done. You know, if you look at Friday to Friday, we've seen a good 2% up move on the Nifty. In fact, if you look at the broader end of the markets, they have rallied somewhere around 4% for the week, both the Nifty mid and small cap indices. Even look at the Nifty Bank index in anticipation of the CRR cut. Although you pointed out rightly that there was no repo rate cut, but in anticipation of a CRR cut, which the governor has obliged us with, the Bank Nifty has had a fairly good run. Just about 1.5% away from the record levels of 54,400 odd, right? So it has been a good move. I think maybe much of the CRR cut may already have been priced in, which is why we saw such a quiet session today. But yes, no reason to complain really. Post a very busy week and 5th straight day of gains, markets also I think took a break, took a breather today. Enjoying a Friday off day, so to say. But yes, in the coming days, we have been able to close, decisively above that 24,500 mark, right, which was a key resistance level that was being pointed out by market experts. So we've been doing that fairly consistently now. So, now that we are around that 24,700 mark, and we did, briefly reclaim that 24,800 mark as well yesterday, right? So, we could make a dash at that 25,000 level because all these important events are out of the way, right? So, let's see, since that 24,500 mark has been conquered pretty decisively again, I won't be surprised if the markets make a dash at that 25,000 level next week.
All right, let's see what the top Nifty 50 gainers and losers were there on Dalal Street. The first one is Tata Motors. It was up about 3% in today's trade. Well, after yesterday's EV sales that saw a disappointing first 8 months of this fiscal year. Yet again, Tata Motors is on the top gear and it is one of the top Nifty 50 gainer, up about 3% in today's trade. Apart from that, we have another automaker, that is your Bajaj Auto, which is doing well and it is dominating the Nifty 50 charts, up about 2% in today's trade. Rest, Axis Bank, Maruti Suzuki, SBI Life, all of them doing well, up about nearly 1 to 2% in today's trade as well. If you look at some of the top losers on the Nifty 50, that includes the likes of Adani Ports, again continuing its slide to another day, down about 1% in today's trade, seeing a bit of a profit booking, and it is down about third straight day as well. Cipla also not doing well, down about 1%. Bharti Airtel, HDFC Life, Asian Paints, all of them dominate the Nifty 50 losers chart as well. But broader indices, that were the outperformers in today's trading and volatile session. 11th straight day of gains. Nandita, what do you gather from the broader end of the markets?
Well, the breadth was fairly strong once again today, tilted in favor of gainers. The NSE advanced decline ratio was at 3:2 almost. And quite a few movers, right? Look at the exchange stocks. Yesterday, BSE rallied somewhere around 14% to hit a record level. Today as well, it extended its run. It was, in fact, among the top Nifty 500 gainers today as well. Zoomed 19% or 20% in the last 3 sessions, and volumes were also pretty good. So this stock was in focus, and so was MCX. Hit a fresh 52-week high today, 8.5% uptick here. record high, and volumes were pretty good here as well. Other gainers include the likes of ITI. This clocked in a double-digit gain today. HBL Power, although it cooled off from the day's high, but still managed to end higher by 6% or so. Vedanta was the other mover, right? It moved somewhere around 7%. There was a trigger here. The company has said that there has been a release of encumbrances over its equity shares by the parent through its subsidiaries. So this is something that sent the stock soaring by somewhere around 7% or thereabouts. PB Fintech Delivery, these are some of the other movers. On the flip side, I also want to point out Garden Reach, renewed vigor when it comes to defense and shipbuilding companies, right? And also we had the news flow that the Defense Acquisition Council had, given its green light for acquisitions to the tune of somewhere around 21,000 crore rupees. So the stocks have been buzzing ever since, but there has been a new signing of a deal as well, second multi-purpose vessel in a series of 4. So that also kind of sent the stock soaring 4% today. So this is another mover. On the flip side, you had stocks like HEG, Canfin Homes, Signature Global, Poly Medicure. These were some of the losers. So all in all, broader end of the market is doing extremely well, outperforming benchmarks today as well. On a day when benchmarks were quiet, broader end of the markets were toiling hard today as well. And we saw an 11th straight day of gains coming in, as you mentioned.
That's right. Let's quickly break down some of the stocks that grabbed the limelight in today's trading session. Well, talking first about the big headline, of course, the banking stocks which grabbed the limelight because that was the headline of today. And after Governor Shaktikanta Das announced a jumbo 50 basis point CRR cut. The bank Nifty is still flat in the red, but it is just about less than 1,000 points away from its new lifetime high. Even experts in the morning that we spoke to, they did point out that the bullish construct is intact. So we will be seeing, whether or not the Bank Nifty is able to reclaim its lifetime high levels in the upcoming sessions. But what led to today's rally was definitely the CRR cut by the RBI, which will be implemented in 2 phases. First on December 14, and then the second one will be implemented on December 28. So 25 basis points of phased implementation will be there. CRR is basically, a tool which is used by the RBI to manage the liquidity in the system. Now, it requires the banks to maintain a certain percentage of course their total deposits as liquid reserves with the RBI. So like for instance, every 100 rupees in deposits, the bank now need to maintain 4 rupees from an earlier 4.5 rupees. So just an example out there. Now this surplus liquidity, this will be helping banks to extend more loans, lower their cost of funds and ultimately improve their net interest margins as well. Street is estimating about, brokerages as well estimating about 3 to 4% of improvement in the NIMs. Now, overall, it is expected to inject about 1.16 lakh crore rupees in the banking system. This comes as we saw faltering growth picture in the second quarter GDP as well and the tight liquidity conditions. So yes, a big move coming in from the RBI, though the Bank Nifty did react in a big way, but once again, once the RBI starts cutting rates in February, we would see the full effect of this move as well. Nandita, what is the next stock on your radar?
Well, I'm going to talk about burgers then. It's Friday and, I'm a big foodie, so I would like to talk about some food here. I'm talking about Westlife. This stock, of course, ended higher by about 2% or thereabouts today. And, of course, there is a upbeat report coming in from Goldman Sachs. In reaction to that, the stock did well today, 2% up move as I said. So there was an India Corporate Day event where, the management met with investors and, brokerages. So Goldman Sachs has come out with a report post its meeting with the management. And the management has assured Goldman Sachs that the same-store sales growth will improve and turn positive for the company and grow by mid-single digits in the second half of the current fiscal. Just want to point out that same-store sales growth was, in the negative zone in the last quarter, 6.5% degrowth in Q2, and that had, of course, taken a toll on earnings. In fact, profit was also down in excess of 95% for the company. So it was a pretty subdued quarter. But given the kind of comments that the management has made in terms of recovery in the second half is something that, investors took heart from. The management also told Goldman Sachs that it intends to strengthen its value offerings to drive the same-store sales growth going forward. Goldman Sachs has pointed out, that the company has made certain changes or interventions in its menu which will have a positive impact going forward. It launched its McCrispy platform back in September this year, which is a campaign to promote the new international favorite McCrispy chicken and crispy McVeggie burgers. So these are some of the new introductions to its India menu. And these aim to bolster McDonald's offering in the large filling burger space. Operating leverage, according to Goldman Sachs, will start to play out as same-store sales growth improves going forward. And the gross margin impact the company saw in Q2 was a one-off and was temporary, according to the brokerage. It has a buy rating on the stock, a target price of 1,045 rupees, slightly lower than its previous target of 1,075 or thereabouts. But the stock has corrected quite a bit from its 52-week high of 957 or thereabouts. But the current target that Goldman Sachs has of 1,045 is the highest on the street for the stock, and it implies a 30% upside, over yesterday's close price. So yes, good report. If you look at the stock performance, all those long-term charts, you'll see that the stock has been under consistent selling pressure, but in the last 1 month, it has been trying to make some bit of a rebound and has given positive returns. But post this report, hopefully, things will improve going forward, as the management has pointed out with its new menu interventions, and of course, all the other, the fact that urban consumption slowdown has been a trend that has emerged in the quarter gone by. But most experts believe that it isn't really a trend, and it could reverse going forward. But let's see how things pan out for this company. But today it was up somewhere around 2% or thereabouts.
All right, QSR stocks could make a comeback in the second half, but we will be watching out on those developments. Well, the next stock in focus is Angel One. Well, the stock did drop over 4% after its tepid November business update, but it did see some recovery in intraday and rose over 1%. As we saw a lot of market-linked players as well doing well, be it the likes of CDSL, BSE, both of them surged up to 4% in today's trading session as well. Angel One particularly, that reported about 12% year-on-year and 14% month-on-month drop in gross client acquisition in November. Further, the overall notional turnover, that saw a drop of 12% month-on-month, and even the future and options turnover, that saw a decline of 12.5% month-on-month. The monthly report, they clearly show that the dip in client acquisition and the corresponding drop in the turnover could be owing to the lesser number of trading days that was there in November. Now, this year, November, the trading days were around 18. However, compared to the last year, we had like 20 trading sessions as well. So the drop could be in those numbers as well. Now, the positive sign, however, in the Angel One's business update was the growth in its client base. That was up about 2% month-on-month this November, and a massive 56% when compared to the year ago period. So yes, largely tepid report coming in, but we will watch out on how Angel One performs in the upcoming sessions as well. Back to you, Nandita. What is this next stock on your radar?
Well, of course, Angel One, capital market as a theme, is doing well. You've seen exchange stocks, brokerage stocks as well expected to do well, given the fact that, new demat accounts being opened and lots of participation, retail participation in the Indian stock market. But of course, it's a Friday, and how can I not choose, a multiplex stock? If I've chosen food stock, then I'd definitely choose a multiplex stocks, given the fact that we've had a blockbuster release yesterday, right? The Allu Arjun starrer Pushpa 2, had a grand release at the box office yesterday. And on the first day itself, it managed to smash, records, given the fact that, it has already, made a collection of 165 crore rupees on day one itself. And it has broken the record that was made by SRK starrer Jawan on day one, the opening day. It had a grand pan-India release. Of course, if you compare it with other blockbusters like RR2, I beg your pardon, Bahubali, and KGF 2, it has managed to smash all those records as well on the pan-India front. What can it really do for PVR? Can it turn the fortunes, especially since second quarter was subdued? It reported a loss of 12 crores. And, of course, footfalls were also a matter of concern. But going forward, Q3 is definitely looking better because of the movie pipeline. We, of course, had Pushpa 2 releasing yesterday. There are a couple of other movies also which are slated for a release later this month, Baby John as well as Sitare Zameen Par. So these are some of the other blockbuster releases lined up. Now, footfalls in the theatre saw a recovery post Diwali. Of course, the fortunes actually started turning with the release of Stree 2. Box office collections on a gross basis is expected to grow over 30% on a sequential basis, according to analysts. Occupancy has been rising, round the clock shows, for Pushpa as well. Ticket prices for Pushpa 2, by the way, for the premium screens have topped 1800 rupees, and still theatres are running full. So that's the kind of demand and interest that we are seeing among movie goers to watch this particular blockbuster. Of course, 2024 wasn't really a great year. But of course, as I mentioned, with the release of Stree 2, things started changing. Plus, let's not forget that we've seen a lot of re-release of previous Hindi movies as well, which has boded well for PVR. So yes, occupancy is improving and things are looking up. And also, CLSA had a pretty upbeat report on PVR, wherein they have maintained their outperform rating, and the target price is at 2,450, mind you, which implies a potential upside of somewhere around 50 to 52% on the stock price. So that's a pretty upbeat view coming in. They pointed out that the media sector is expected to benefit from the growing subscription revenues. Also, strong content, improving occupancy in multiplexes is expected to aid earnings for PVR going forward. And they've also taken note of the fact that the re-releasing of popular movies, yesteryear movies, these are some of the factors that could be significant growth drivers for PVR. So yes, festive season content, improving occupancy, these are some of the factors that will aid momentum for multiplexes as well. But of course, for now, I think PVR not ready to say, in fact, PVR can afford to say jhukega nahi, given the fact that they have seen an improvement in occupancies and so much fanfare around the release of Pushpa 2. But I remember I was talking to you about this, Lovisha. When are you going to catch this movie? You were quite excited about the first the first movie, Pushpa. So when are you planning to catch this one?
Of course, I was very impressed with the Pushpa 1 because I am a big fan of Fahad Fazil. And hopefully this weekend, let's see how it pans out. Nandita, what about you? When are you planning to catch it?
Yeah, cult movie, and
first one.
I'll first catch up on my sleep and then perhaps I'll go and catch this one. But yes, two stocks which I had on my radar this afternoon. One was a multiplex stock, so you go watch your Pushpa 2 and then probably you can grab McDonald's as well, in the interval or something.
All right. I hope the viewers will also plan something on their weekends as well. But with that, we have come to an end of this edition of The Closing Bell. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. We will be back with markets on Monday. For now, it's a wrap from Nandita and me.